Is it Monday already? It's time for another edition of Student of the Gun Radio. Welcome back, all you cats and kittens out there in the Student of the Gun Radio listening audience. I am your host, Professor Paul Markle, and you are the listeners. And on the outside of the glass case of emotion is Jared, my illustrious studio engineer, producer, and jack of all trades. Are you able to speak today, Jared?
I'm the Jared of all trades.
Are you the Jared of all trades, not the Jack of all trades?
I'm not feeling very well this morning. I'm hoping to what did I take? What's that stuff called? Zicam, yeah. And they don't sponsor us, but it works. So I'm hoping to kick this stuff before it even gets to the worst stage.
Yeah, I've been trusting Zicam for at least 10 years since it first came out to help me. You know, Zicam is, and people are like, well, I'm already taking Vicks and I'm already taking this, and Zicam doesn't mask the symptoms. I mean, let's face it, that's what cold medicine does, is it masks the symptoms and it relieves the coughing, the sneezing, the whatever. It relieves that, but it doesn't make you well. It just takes time. Well, Zicam reduces the severity and length of the cold. That's it. And I've been using it long enough now to know that is actually the case. But this isn't a Zicam commercial. This is Student of the Gun Radio. And we're going to talk about lots of stuff this week. We've got, let me see, we're going to talk about the most recent terror attack in Paris and what's going on with that, how we're going to address that.
How do you know it was a terror attack?
Oh, yeah, it might have been a workplace violence. That's true.
Yeah. Well, the newspaper had it coming because They
should have known not to insult members of the religion of peace. Speaking of which, you got our new or recent religion of peace update standing by there, buddy?
Yeah, I do. I just got it
Okay,
ready.
Cool. Before we jump into all that stuff, welcome to the new year 2015. This will be the second week of Student of the Gun for 2015. We hope you guys are enjoying the new format, the daily format. You get it Monday through Thursday. And if you want to listen to Student of the Gun on Friday, well, then it's real easy. All you have to do is become an exclusive grad program member, and you get to listen to the show on Friday. We'll send that out. And then once a month, you'll get the Tactical Tutor newsletter, which is an exclusive to you guys. Now, Jared and I talked around Christmas time. We said I was feeling benevolent, and he agreed with me that we were going to do a one-time only Tactical Tutor newsletter to everyone. Is that not correct, Jared?
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, not everyone. Only the people that gave us their email address.
Everybody on our subscriber list. Everyone
but you can get it by doing
our newsletter list. If you're on the basic Student of the Gun email newsletter list. Now, by the time they hear this, they should have already gotten it, right, Jerry?
Yeah, they'll have it.
All right. By the time, so in case you haven't read it, in case you haven't opened up your email and read it, by the time you hear this, you should do that. Go to your inbox. Check. There'll be a letter there, an email from Jared with the Tactical Tutor newsletter in it. And we decided we would give one issue of the newsletter to everyone for free, just because we have your email address and you get the electronic newsletter, the updates, I guess you call it. The technical term is what? Broadcast or e-blast or was it broadcast?
Let's call it a broadcast.
A broadcast.
I don't like to call it that because it's not really
it's confusing to the layman. Yeah, I know. But anyway, so we're going to do that one time. And what we did for our actual grad program members, the exclusive grad program members, is I went ahead and gave them an additional bonus. So they didn't get shorted. They didn't get cheated, because we don't believe in cheating our dedicated students of the gun. So far, with the grad program, we've given away the flashlights. We just recently gave away a pistol, holster, all that stuff. And we got a lot of cool things, exclusive grad program member updates coming this year in 2015. I'm looking up at the clock, and I'm like, wow, I've already been talking for almost 5 minutes. So welcome to this week of Student of the Gun. We want to take a moment to thank all of our good friends, the people that make it possible for us to sit down here in the glass case of emotion with our black carbon steel microphones and come to you each and every week. And this is also a good time for me to take a moment and thank you, all of you guys out there and girls, guys and girls, in the Student of the Gun listening audience for sharing the love with our sponsors. Every once in a while, we'll see something, whether it's on a Facebook post or Twitter or what have you, where you have expressed thanks to our sponsors. SWAT Fuel and Brownells and Colt and Velocity Triggers and Excess Sights, all those guys that you told them, hey, thank you for sponsoring Student of the Gun. And I appreciate you guys taking the effort and the time to do that because it does make a difference. Let's face it, if you're Brownells or if you're Colt or whomever, and you're figuring out your ad budget for this year or next year, you want to figure out where you're getting the most bang for your buck. That's business. That's the way the world works. And if you want to keep listening to Student of the Gun radio like you do, the only way that we can do that is to have sponsors. And we're glad to work with our friends at SWAT Fuel. If you go to swatfuel.com and you feel like making a purchase, that's cool. Be sure that you use the special promo code SOTG2014, and you're going to get 20% off your total order. Brownells at brownells.com. If you own a gun, Brownells has something for you. Colt at colt.com. Check out all their new offerings and what they're going to be doing in the rifle and pistol world for 2015. And Velocity Triggers. If you own a black rifle, if you're thinking about buying a black rifle, if you're thinking about building a black rifle, Velocity Triggers has a trigger for you. And not only do they have triggers, but they have some of the pins and parts that you might need in your build as well. And you can order those from velocitytriggers.com.
The rifle Mars that I put together, I put the straight trigger from Velocity in there, and I shot it for the first time last week. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I've ever used a straight trigger, and I liked it.
Didn't bother you? Didn't screw you up? No. Or nothing? No. The last sponsor that we're going to talk about, and the reason we saved this one for last is because it is Excess Sights, and Excess Sights is our sponsor of the Good Guy of the Week program. And if we pick your question and read it as the Good Guy of the Week, you get an Excess Sights Good Guy package from Excess, and it's got, hat, T-shirt, stickers, patches, all kinds of cool swag and stuff. So
there's no sights in there.
No sights, no.
Sights are a little bit more expensive.
Just a little bit. But, Jared, tell us who our Good Guy of the Week is and what was their question.
Our Good Guy this week is Amratus Sive. Sorry if I murdered that name, but
it's from the forum.
Yeah, it's from the forum. You go to forums.studentofthegun.com and post your question in the Good Guy thread. Amratus, I need you to send me your address, your shirt size, your phone number, and include your email typed in there for me. Send it to Jared, Jarrad, at studentofthegun.com. And he says, when carrying, is there ever a time or a place when it's safe to look at or use a mobile device, i.e. smartphone, notebook, tablet? What are the precautions one should take to reduce the loss of situational awareness? There were a lot of characters in that sentence, so it was kind of hard to read. That's funny.
Parentheses and slashes and question marks and stuff. Well, that is a good question. It's actually two questions, but we're going to address that. And we talk about that a lot in our Armed Living class and here on the radio, and we talk about personal defense. And it starts with your mindset. It doesn't matter how many guns and knives and pepper sprays and gadgets and gizmos that you have on your body if your first sign of an attack is someone punching you in the face. And then you're playing catch-up. You always want to be paying attention to what's going on around you in the world. And we've referred to the cell phone or the modern device, the mobile apps, mobile devices, as attention vampires. If you want to see examples of attention vampires, all you have to do is go out in public, go to a mall, go to a shopping center, what have you, and just stand back, put your back against the wall, open up your eyes, and look. And you're going to see people walking around with their heads down in their phones, in their tablets, in their whatever kind of electronic device. And they're just walking blindly using their peripheral vision to keep them from bumping into stuff. And what you need to ask yourself, you say, well, it's a free country. People can do whatever they want. Yes, they can. They absolutely can. But ask yourself this. When these people walk by you, when they walk by you with their head buried in their phones or what have you, if you were a bad person, could you reach out and touch them without them being aware of it until you actually made contact with them?
Didn't they make a song about that? I think it was Marilyn Manson. He covered the song called "Reach Out and Touch Me."
I don't know about that. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's not called Reach Out and Touch Me, but
Reach Out and Touch Faith?
no.
I don't know.
It's not called Reach Out and Touch Anything. That line is in that song, and that's the only line I remember of that song.
Did you just come right smack out of left field with that one?
Yeah, you said Reach Out and Touch, and it made me think of that. So.
Okay. All
anyway,
right.
Go back to what you were saying.
I'm going to go back to what I was saying. Think about parking lot situations. Have you ever been parking your car or getting into your car, and someone's walking across the parking lot looking down at their phone? You know, that kind of a deal. Now, do we need to use our mobile phones? Yes, we do.
Remember in the Forum Shops last year in Vegas?
Oh, what's that?
Was that in the Forum Shops where we were walking and every single person was on their phone? They didn't know what was going on.
Oh, yeah. It was like ducks or geese in a row. We walked to they were sitting on little stools, and every single person, there's like 8 or 10 of them. Every single one had their head down, and they were looking in their lap at their phones. Every single one.
I'm a little bit sad this year because Dad's not going to be going to SHOT Show, and I'm going to be representing. Dad's got more important stuff to do, but I'll be there representing Student of the Gun. And usually when we get there, we take the first day and we go to the Forum Shops, and we get to go to the Casa Fuente and smoke a nice cigar together. And we're not going to get to do that this year. So
yeah. Jared, if you're in the listening audience and you're going to be at the SHOT Show this year, Jared will be on the floor flying the flag for Student of the Gun. So if you see him, say hello.
If you're going to be there, I'm going to have a camera. I want to get you on the camera saying that you're a Student of the Gun. So let me know if you're going to be there.
Hey, there you go. There's a deal for you guys. All right, back to attention vampires. Yes, we need to use mobile devices. Yes, we get calls that we weren't expecting and we have to take them. We have to send texts. We're busy business people. We're answering emails. And how do you do that without letting it become an attention vampire? Step number 1, put your back against a wall. Put your back against a wall, against a pillar, against something where someone couldn't actually walk up behind you. So that covers the rear part of you. Gotcha. Step number 2, raise the device up to your face as opposed to looking down at the floor. You raise the device up to your face and you look at it. Now your peripheral vision is much more effective because your head is up. I've seen professional self-defense and gun carriers using their phones, and you'll notice, you can tell that they're doing it deliberately, because when they pull their phones out and their devices, they lift them up and they read the text right in front of their faces so that their heads are still up. I would also, let's say you have to answer a text, you have to answer an email, you have to do something that's going to distract you. Okay, great. Put yourself in a position where no one can approach you without knowing it. Let's say you're in a cafe or a shop or what have you, and you sit in a corner booth or a side booth or what have you, and do your thing. And if someone approaches you, they won't be able to approach you from the sides or behind. You'll know that they're coming. And you're like, oh, I don't live that kind of a paranoid life, Paul. It's not about being paranoid. It's about habit. How many times do you have to be right or do things right when it comes to a robbery, an assault, a rape, or what have you? How many times do you have to do it right? Well, what do you mean do it right? How many times do you have to do it right when it comes to defending yourself, protecting yourself, being aware of your surroundings? You got to do it right every time.
How many times do you have to do it wrong?
Well, and that's the thing. How many times does the attacker need to get it right?
Once.
Only once. When I was working as a professional bodyguard, one of the things that we were taught when I actually went to a school, and our instructor, he goes, you as a professional security provider have to be aware and you have to be on your game 24 hours a day. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You don't get to pick the day off. He said the bad guy, when he attacks you, he's already chosen the time, the place, the method, everything. And all he has to do is get it right one time at that specific moment. That's all he has to do. You, as a security provider, have to be aware and able to stop it all the time, because they're not going to send you a postcard and say, oh, by the way, tomorrow we're going to attack you. Thursday at 6 a.m. we're going to try and kidnap you. You won't know. You always have to be on your game.
Luckily, the majority of criminals are stupid, so they can't necessarily get it right.
They're stupid and they're lazy. But the good news is, if you build up good habits, like we're talking about, if you build good habits, they just become part of your everyday routine. And you'll do it right without thinking about it, just like carrying a gun. Carrying a gun should be your daily habit. It shouldn't be something that you do occasionally, once in a while. It should be something that you do habitually. We talked about this, about when I was talking with Julie about having a gun. When people first start carrying a gun, they feel super paranoid that everybody knows they're carrying, and they're constantly aware of the gun being on them, and they're constantly thinking about it. Well, what you want to do is you want to get into a position as a habit where it's the opposite, where if for whatever reason you're not armed, then you're constantly aware that you're not armed and you don't feel comfortable being not armed. And I hope Amratus, whatever, AC, I hope that answers your question. I hope that gave you a little bit of something to think about. And congratulations for being the Excess Sites Good Guy of the Week. And make sure when you hear this that you send Jared the email so that he can get you your stuff.
I just wanted to let you guys know that sound that you heard earlier, it was Scott. Shame on you, but thank you for the email.
It was Scott?
It was Scott from Australia.
Oh, Scott from Australia. Yeah. What's up, mate?
It's my fault for not turning my phone off, but he emailed me, so I blame him. I can never take the blame. Did you know that?
Was that one of our Australian
he's the
SOTG
dude.
mates?
Yeah,
he was intel.
He was keeping us up to date on the terrorist attack that happened there. And Scott, I get a lot of emails from you. I don't have time to answer them all, but I try to answer as many as I can. But I do read them, just so you know.
Yeah, and that is something that is a good point. I'm glad Jared made that. We do, ladies and gentlemen, we get dozens, I guess several dozen emails every single day, but Jared does, I do, and we do our...
I get more than that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, okay, many. And we do our best to at very least open them and read them, and a lot of times you guys will send us a link to a story or a question, and we may not be able to answer that directly to you because there's only so much time in the day. But what we will do, if we think that question is something that not only you but other people have the same question, it's kind of like when you were in school. You guys remember when you were in school, right? And your teachers told you, don't be afraid to ask a question, because if you're thinking that question, there's probably 4 other people in the class that have that same question too but aren't going to raise their hands. So when we read questions and see topics, often we'll just drop them into the show notes, or we'll answer them via Facebook or what have you. So even though you didn't get an email directly back from us, we are answering those as best as we can.
And while we're on that topic, I sent you guys, everybody that subscribed to the Student of the Gun newsletter, I sent you guys an email last week. And then actually I sent you 2, one on Monday and one on Friday, I believe, or one on Thursday. And it basically just asked you to ask me some questions that I can deal with on the fitness segment on Student of the Gun TV this year. And I had way more responses than I thought I was going to get. The web page that I sent you guys to, everybody that commented on there, I think I had almost 100 people comment on there. And then I got overrun with emails. It was really amazing, actually. I wasn't expecting that, but I appreciate everybody that took the time to ask a question, and there was some really good questions that I didn't even think about addressing on there. So look forward to that in this season of Student of the Gun TV. And if you don't, how are we going to deliver it to them this year? You want to tell them?
No,
they should already know.
You're the producer.
Yeah, they should already know, but obviously the main thing that we're going to do is studentofthegun.com. That's where everything's going to go. What we do there is we do the most recent episode, and then we do the last week's episode as well. And then if you want to watch all the previous or the archive material, then we're going to be on Roku. Well, we are on these right now, but we're going to Roku, Chromecast, Apple TV. We're going to be on Xbox Video, and that's where all the archive video material will be.
Okay. Now, but Roku's going to be available to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on their TVs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something that I wanted to make sure that you dealt with, is because a lot of people are asking us. They're like, "Hey, how come I'm not getting my Roku yet? How come I'm not getting this?" So what exactly is the story with the new TV season material?
It's still in the process of being approved by Roku for public access. It's approved as a private channel right now. Like, I can watch it on my TV because I have the code. But obviously, it's hard for us to give you guys a code. I don't want to have to send all of you a code. I just want you to be able to go to Roku or Chromecast or whatever you have and type in Student of the Gun and our app come up. So when it's publicly approved for all those, I will let you guys know. And if you want to be the first to know, go to studentofthegun.com and sign up for our little newsletter there. I'm assuming that a lot of you are already signed up, and we appreciate that.
So yeah, there you have it. We have to submit the material just like the Apple or the Roku, not the Apple. The mobile app had to be approved and so forth. So right now, all this is in the process of approval, and as soon as we have it available to you, we will let you know.
The goal date that I'm setting forth for the public approval is, and having new material on there for you, is February 1st. Obviously, I'll be gone next week. I think, is it next week? Yeah, I'll be gone next week at SHOT Show. Hopefully I see some of you there. But by February 1st, you should have some new material to you for the TV show. And obviously we do so much. We do the radio, we do the homerooms, we do enough to keep you guys busy until we have more TV episodes for you.
Well, and when the easiest way for you to know exactly when something is available, is up, is ready to be viewed, downloaded, and so forth, is to just use the free broadcast sign up. You put in your first name, you put in your email, you click it, you confirm it, and you're on the broadcast list. You're on the list for the regular newsletters.
If you're anti-list, then Facebook page, everything goes there, I think.
If you're anti-list and anti-Facebook and anti-Twitter,
then just check back.
Then you're just going to have to wait.
You're just going to have to, yeah.
That's the way it is. All right, Jared, go ahead and hit me with our Religion of Peace update theme, and we're going to talk about the Paris terrorist attack. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Das geht an die Oma des letzten Propheten Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ich bin Allah so dankbar, ein Muslim sein zu dürfen. Man, how can you not? You know you're moving your feet, rapping to the beat, squirming in your seat. What else?
The beat.
Get something to eat.
Yeah.
Listen to the beat. All right, Dr. Seuss time is over. Yeah, that is.
I was going to say something else, but this isn't the bonus hour,
that's right,
so
it's
I
not
couldn't
the bonus
say
hour.
That.
So we've got. You guys probably know. You should know by now about the Paris terrorist attack on the magazine office there.
That was a pretty good combination, though. Paris attack.
It's a terrorist attack. Yeah. Anyway, the Religion of Peace is at it again. They have been offended, and therefore, when they are offended, then someone needs to die. Well, I guess that's how it works in their world. And by the time you listen to this, you should know that the update is they figured out who did it. We figured out where they were, and I think one is in custody and two are dead. And then there was additional little side jobs that were going on throughout France. Now, if you're an honest person, if you understand what's going on in the world, and if you've been paying attention for, I don't know, the last 10, 20 years, you'll notice that, Paris, this is the ugly little secret that nobody wants to talk about. Paris has been surrounded by essentially little mini, like Paris-istan or what have you, these Muslim ghettos that surround Paris and the outskirts of Paris, where the police and the government have essentially given up on it, and they've just become their own little sharifs or what have you, or caliphates. And this is not something that is surprising to anybody in the intelligence world. They've known that France has been a hotbed for radical jihadist activity for a long time. They even knew who these guys were. They came out and admitted, oh, yeah, we knew who these guys were, and they were on our lists. And the one guy was convicted of a crime and spent 18 months in jail in 2005, and that he tried to go to Iraq to fight for the Brotherhood there in Iraq because get this, on the Communist News Network, they let this out. He admitted when he was arrested that he wanted to go to Iraq and kill the coalition forces because he was incensed over the reports of coalition and American abuses at Abu Ghraib. Yep. So thank you, United States media, for making that little molehill into a mountain. Thank you, Senator Ted Kennedy. Is it warm enough for you down there? Thank you for that, for making us the bad guys and helping to radicalize even more of these goat lovers.
You want to know what I have to say to these goat lovers?
What's that, Jared?
Here, listen.
Oh, that's
what I have to say.
That's going to make somebody mad. Well, all right. So what do we know? We know that Johnny Jihad times 3 decided that they were offended and that they were going to go out in the name of Allah and murder the infidels. So they did. They murdered a bunch of them. And so everybody on the big news, the CNNs and the MSNBCs and everywhere, they're all at Twitter, and they want to talk to people, and they want to fill time, and they want you to sit in front of your television nonstop because you're in a panic state and you don't know what to do. And we found a clip that was very illustrative, and we found a senator that accidentally told the truth. And we've got some clips, and we're going to talk about each one of these admissions that the senator – it's Senator Angus King, Maine. And you're like, I? What is I? I means independent. Well, what that essentially means is that he doesn't want the stain of having a D behind his name up there in mostly conservative Maine, but at the same time, he doesn't support Republican politics, so he went ahead and put an I behind his name. But the host at CNN, they got Senator Angus King, and he's on the Intelligence Committee. So they started asking him questions about, what do we know, what's going on, what is the United States doing about this, yada, yada, yada. And I know you're sitting out there, you're driving your car, you're on your treadmill, you're doing whatever you're doing, and you want to pull your hair out because it's 2015, 2015. And when did we actually decide that, the Islamic world, the fundamentalist jihadists, Johnny Jihad, they decided that they were at war with the West a long, long time ago. I don't think there's ever been a time that they weren't actually at war with the West. But let's just keep it in modern context. Let's go back to the 70s. Let's go back to the jihadists, the PLO, when they kidnapped the Israeli athletes during the Munich Olympics in '72. Let me guess, half of you don't even know what I'm talking about. How about Tehran and the U.S. Embassy when good old peanut farmer Jimmy Carter was the president, and he essentially allowed our people to be taken hostage by quote-unquote student radicals. No, they were jihadists, and we were embarrassed as a nation for 444 days. So let's say that openly that Johnny Jihad has been at war with the West for at least 40 years. That's, if you want to be honest, at least 40, but probably more than that. Well, definitely more than that. Well, September 11th, 2001, we actually had to pull our heads out of our collective rear ends and admit that the jihad world was at war with us and we probably needed to do something about it. That was 2001. It is currently, as I speak these words, January of 2015. So even if you went to public school, you know we've been at this for more than 10 years. 11 years, 12 years, 13, going on 14 full years in the global war against terror, and we're still asking the same questions. Well, what are we going to do? Why do they not like us? What can we do to determine how to make them like us better? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, like it's Groundhog Day here. But let's go ahead. Jared's going to pull up the clips, and he's going to pull up clip number 1. Now, the reporterette, she went ahead and she asked Senator King a question, and this is his initial statement about what's going on or what just happened in Paris. Jared, go ahead and give me clip 1, please.
I think the third thing is that there does appear to be a connection between these guys that did this attack and what's called AQAP, the Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula, which is essentially based in Yemen. We know that at least one of them traveled there. We know that there was some training. And this doesn't look like a lone wolf attack. Just the fact that they were carrying AK-47s and not 22s and pistols indicates that this was planned, and it's part of some kind of strategy. It's tragic. I'm afraid it's the world that we live in, though, Allison.
Okay, let's talk about clip number 1. So Senator King, he admits that this is a coordinated terrorist attack, which is pretty big, because usually we're treated to the this is an isolated incident carried out as a workplace violence. Isn't that what we usually get? We usually get we can't judge and we don't know, and let's not jump to conclusions and say this was a terrorist attack. When Johnny Jihad walks into a building with a knife and cuts someone's head off and screaming Aloha Snack Bar the whole time, they're like, oh, hang on, let's not jump to conclusions here. This might not be a terrorist attack. Well, Senator King actually had to admit that this was a terrorist attack, that this was a coordinated terrorist attack by, now, Jared, did he say AQAP, which would be Al-Qaeda in the Arab Peninsula? Now, I thought that Comrade Barry, before he went up for re-election in 2012, told us that Al-Qaeda had been defeated. Was that not correct, or am I mistaken? Did Comrade Barry not say?
Because of him.
Yeah, because of him.
That. He defeated Al-Qaeda.
He defeated Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was on the run. Apparently they were on the run to Yemen so they could stock up on RPGs and AK-47s.
And AR-15s.
Oh, and AR-15s. Don't forget about that. Well, you mean the tens of thousands of missing M16A2 rifles that we just don't know what happened to? No. Don't look over there. Don't remember that. You shouldn't remember that because it would hurt your feelings. But anyway, so here we got Senator King, and right before he made that statement, actually, we'll put the entire clip. The clip itself is over 8 minutes long, and there's no way we're going to play 8 full minutes for you guys here on the radio, especially since most of the stuff that the reporterette chick says is just ridiculous. But if you want to look at that, or you want to read it or share it or what have you, you want to watch it in its entirety, go to studentofthegunradio.com and check out the show notes. So, number one, Senator King has to admit that this was an organized terrorist attack. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we know that it's existing. We know that it's going on. What are we going to do about it? And one of the things he says is, sadly, this is the world that we live in. Okay, Senator King, I'll give you that one. I would give you that one in 2001. In November of 2001, if you were to say to me, sadly, this is the world that we live in and we just need to get used to it, I would give you that. In maybe even January 2002, I'd give you that one and I wouldn't question it. But Senator, Mr. Intelligence Committee member, one of 100 people in the U.S. Senate, in January of 2015, you're going to tell me that this is just the world that we live in and we have to get used to it. Are we ever going to get serious about winning this war, or are we just going to keep putting a Band-Aid on the knife wound? Now, Jerry, go ahead and pull up clip number 2. Let's see. Senator King continues the discussion about the terrorist attack, and this one's about a full minute, so go ahead and listen up closely.
High priority concerns here on U.S. in the U.S.
Well, there is, and you know, this is a case where, at least so far, the system worked. The point I'm making is that these two guys were on our no-fly list. Mm-hmm. So they had been identified. They were being tracked, and that would have made it more difficult for them to get here. But the larger reality is that there's something like 15,000 foreign fighters in Syria and Iraq right now. It's a cauldron of training that these people can then return to their home countries, and this kind of thing is possible. It's one of the reasons people sometimes stop me and say, why are we bothering with the Middle East? Why are we involved over there? Why are we taking these, sending people? And the answer is that if this place doesn't get calmed down, it's going to be a training ground for these kind of individuals that we're going to see throughout the world, and unfortunately, most likely here in the United States.
Senator, it's Allison.
Wow. If you bonus hour members who are listening to this, what do you know? What do you know during the grad program? Grad program guys know that last week we had Jay Gibson, you're never a former United States Marine. Jay Gibson, who is a United States Marine, a military contractor, professional security provider, who has been to Afghanistan and Iraq, and who has seen the elephant and actually shot the elephant. And we talked about this very thing, the fact that what we've got, whether it's Canada, Mexico, the United States, whether it's England, France, Germany, what have you, they're allowing all these turkeys with dual citizenship passports to fly over to Syria, fly over to northern Iraq, and get their jihad on, right? They go out there and they meet with the Brotherhood and they do their chants and, they do their goat loving and all that stuff. Then they pop off, a couple mags out of their AK-47s, or they learn how to load and fire an RPG, and now they're hardcore jihadists. They get back on a plane and they fly back home. They fly to, back into Toronto or into New York or where have you. And does the United States of America have the guts to stop these turds from coming back in? Or, and this is a big or, let's say they're not American dual citizenship, let's say they're Canadian dual citizenship, let's say, whatever, and these turkeys fly into Mexico City. And can they legitimately just walk across the border now? Jared, what do you think? I mean, let's say you're little Johnny Jihad and you went over to Syria and you crossed over into northern Iraq and you got your jihad on with ISIS, you got your little hat, you got your T-shirt, and now you're a badass jihadist. You get on a plane with a couple of your bros, you fly to Mexico City, and you find your way up to Brownsville, Texas, or to El Paso, or what have you.
What's stopping them?
And are you allowed, or San Diego? Are you allowed to cross the border and come on in, or are we going to stop you because we can't just have porous borders where anybody just walks across? Oh, that's right. Borders are bad, and it's racist to stop anyone who wants to just walk across the border and come into the United States. Folks.
So why are we the United States?
Why are we so weak?
No, why are we the United States?
Oh, how can we be a United States of America and not have borders?
There are no borders.
That's a pretty good question.
Well, I mean, I guess we do have borders on the east and the west because there's water.
Yeah, there's water, so we got oceans there. But, I don't know. Folks, we've been telling you this. We've been spreading the word, and he had to admit it. This is what's scary to me. When a United States senator actually admits the truth,
it's actually worse.
That should scare you because they're not all about letting you know.
Yeah.
So it's probably, you figure if they come out in public and admit it, it's probably 10 times worse. Go ahead and give us a last clip, Jared, and we're going to put this baby to bed.
Past year and a half, we need a general strategy beyond just killing them. And beyond treating them as military targets. We need to talk about why is this happening? Why are young men particularly falling for this ideology, and how do we counteract it? How do we work with more moderate elements in the Muslim community? And frankly, I think this is something we still have to we still are trying to think through. In the meantime, we've got to keep our defenses up. We've got to maintain the counterterrorism activities. But you're absolutely right. The core of this is how do we deal with what I consider the true weapons of mass destruction, which are unemployed 22-year-old alienated men who just have no connection with their society. Part of it is education, part of it is economic development, part of it is imparting Western values. I mean, this is
ladies and gentlemen, that right there, we had to play that last clip because what you just heard, that is the I behind Senator Angus King. That's the I. That's the moderate. That's the independent thinking. That's the... So here we are in 2015. In 2015, a full 10-plus years into the global war on terrorism, where we've expended thousands upon thousands of lives, billions upon billions of dollars, and Senator King in 2015 is going to say, well, what we need to do is we need to ask why. We need to stop treating this as a military threat. Senator King, what else are you going to treat jihadists, terrorists, animals, barbarians, people that want to kill you, that if they could get their hands upon you, they would cut your head off with a dull knife? How else do you treat these people? Then he starts spouting off this socioeconomic bull crap about now it's the United States' fault that we have unemployed 20-year-old males in Paris, France. So that's somehow our fault now. We need to examine and figure out what can we do? What economic policies can we put in place to prevent this? This guy is a tool. He is a useless tool. I don't care what kind of crap he spouted about, well, we need to make sure that we have our intelligence in place and that we have all of our security precautions, that we have and this just shows that our no-fly list works. Weren't the Boston bombers here on student visas after they went overseas and trained with Chechen terrorists? Then they came back and we let them in? What? Okay, what good does it do us to know who these people are, but we're afraid to call them out because that might be profiling, and profiling is wrong. Folks, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. This kind of nonsense has got to stop. It has to stop. I don't know when it's going to stop, but keep putting moderate thinking people like King here. Keep putting them in office. Keep putting your support behind these kind of people who 12, 13, 14 years into the global war on terrorism want to know, well, we have to ask ourselves why. What is motivating them? I don't care. Can you imagine this, folks? Can you imagine in 1942 that if Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and I'm not a fan, but imagine if he got in front of the people and said, now hold on, folks. Before we commit troops and planes and tanks to fighting a war against imperialist Japan, we need to ask ourselves, why do they feel the way they do? Let's ask ourselves, why does a person become a Nazi? Why do they support the Nazi Party in Germany? I mean, we can't just kill them. We have to ask, what is the root cause of Nazism? Can you fathom that? But that's exactly what this turd is saying. Folks, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't want to bring you down. I want to bring you up. And I want to thank you for being part of Student of the Gun Radio. Thank you for listening. We're happy to bring you the daily shows now in 2015. And Jared's going to go ahead and hit the close music. But before he does that, I want to remind you guys that for all things Student of the Gun 24 hours a day, you can download the mobile app, Google Play Store, iTunes Store. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You're welcome. And it's there thanks to our friends at Century Arms. All right, folks, we will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.